Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Today I'm going to talk to you a bit about Cyberpunk. Well, maybe not a little bit. I got quite a few books to recommend here. Some of you may have heard, and some of you may not have heard of. Cyberpunk really got started, or it was born out of a fellow by the name of Michael Moorcock, who, through a British magazine, got a bunch of writers together to talk about humanity and technology. Moorcock's actually known for Elric, a fantasy character, but he really, I think, can be considered the creator of Cyberpunk. Is really through him that it really got started, and he got other authors interested in it. And as a result of that, here we have the Cyberpunk book, Neuromancer by William Gibson. This is the Cyberpunk book. You have to read this Cyberpunk book. The influence of this can't be overstated. Everything you've ever heard, cyberspace, jacking in, hacking some corporation's firewall, an action girl, like when you see Trinity in the Matrix, you have Molly Millions. This has had to be an influence on her right there. Uh, the tagline for Cyberpunk is low life, high tech. And so you've got, for example, the lead guy here. He works for a mob. He got in trouble with them. He's drug addicted. And in fact, a lot of the times in books like this, cyberpunk, plugging into cyberspace in itself can be a bit of an addiction. Um, this plot line here gets going when they approach the lead guy's name's Case for a mission, and he encounters an artificial intelligence that was created on the web, and it's looking for its other half, and that's what gets this going. Uh, uh, it has two sequels that are actually pretty underrated. I mean, this overshadows literally everything. Here we have Count Zero and Mona Lisa Overdrive. And we get here an intro where an agent is sent to pick up a scientist who's working on a new technology. But when he gets there, he makes a rescue, but it's the scientist's daughter. And she's been loaded up with little bits of technology, an implant that gives her a wireless connection to cyberspace. And in this book, she actually takes on the role of what we would now call an internet or YouTube star. Uh, right now, to my knowledge, like there are people who are paralyzed and they get an implant that allows them to think and move a computer cursor around on a screen. But it's very clunky and kind of horrible looking. Like, you know, when you see the movie The Matrix, they've got holes in their heads and they have to jack in with these large, bulky pieces of technology. DARPA, last I heard, is a long time ago now, was working on smart dust, something you could inject into a body. It would go where it needs to in your brain and pick up your thinking and give you a wireless connection that way. The problem, of course, the big problem would have to be benign to the body completely, as easily removed as it is injected, because what could go wrong? It needs to get out of there. Two, in fiction, in cyberpunk, brain hacking is awesome. But in reality, we don't want that. We want our cake and eat it too. And so therein presents the problem with such a possible technology that we need to protect ourselves. If something happens to my computer, it just happens to my computer. It doesn't happen to me. So if I've got a computer on my head, there still needs to be that much separation, or people are just not going to go for that kind of technology. It's not going to happen. Just real quickly, something that usually goes along with Neuromancer, especially since it has the author's name on it, Burning Probe, a collection of short stories, and Mirror Shades, another collection of short stories. If not for Neuromancer, the cyberpunk book would probably be Snow Crash by Neil Stephenson. This is a runaway train of a book. This is a battering ram. This just goes on and on and on and on and on and on. Fast, fast, fast. But it's not, this is not a superficial book by any means. The hero, literally named Hiro, Hiro, his last name is protagonist. He is the hacker, but he's been supplanted by corporations who employ teams of hackers, so he starts this story out as a pizza delivery man. Society's falling apart, which is usual. The United States exists mostly of individual enclaves rather than an entire nation. The mob runs the pizza business, but they're very serious about it. They take their service seriously. The heart of this is it's a program called Snow Crash. It's a virus, a computer virus, but it takes its origins in ancient times because there actually was a concept called me, which was as the author puts it, an operating system for civilization, and it contained a set of instructions. And an artifact is found where the villain of the piece sees a way that he could broadcast the instructions in this language and really appeal to the lizard brain in people and make them controllable. This is about taking over the world. There's an entry in here I'm going to read. This doesn't spoil anything. The thing is that one of the villains of the piece, he rides around on a motorcycle. It's got a sidecar. And in the sidecar is an atomic bomb. And it has a wireless connection to a device connected to his heart. So if he's killed, the atomic bomb goes off, which, you think he could just have an accident and get killed, and he's going to kill millions of people with this nuclear device. And here our hero is musing on his comparison to this villain. Let me get in close here. I have to take my glasses off. Little curse word warning. Until a man is 25, he still thinks, every so often, that under the right circumstances, he could be the baddest motherfucker in the world. If I moved to a martial arts monastery in China and studied real hard for 10 years, if my family was wiped out by Colombian drug dealers and I swore myself to revenge, if I got a fatal disease and had 1 year to live, devoting it to wiping out street crime, if I just dropped out and devoted my life to being bad. Hero used to feel that way too, but then he ran into Raven. In a way, this is liberating. He no longer has to worry about trying to be the baddest motherfucker in the world. The position is taken, and that's a good way to explain Snow Crash to you. It's a wonderful read. A couple quick ones. This is Simulation. This is another short story collection. If I throw this at you, it's because of this one short story that I think stood out for a lot of people in cyberpunk fandom. That it's called Dogfight, and a challenger shows up to this bar where they have these hologram flying around biplanes, and they have dogfights, and they have a champion. And really, it's about a nice little commentary on humanity and their need for stars to look up to. This is a very much newer book, Restricted Fantasies. The one standout in this involves a police officer who goes and polices virtual realities that people are able to make for themselves. Now, you can do whatever you want in these virtual realities, but there are some restrictions. So, in one, this guy, it's basically Nazism. He is the leader. Everyone in his virtual reality is scared. They follow his orders, better do what he says. He is in charge, and it is a dystopia. It's perfectly legal, it's just in virtual reality. The problem is he kidnapped his children, and he's holding in prison there. And, this is a nice speculation on what evils people might try to perform in their own virtual realities that they create for themselves. On a softer note, this wonderful little book here, The Rapture of the Nerds. Um, People, like I said, call Snow Crash a satire just because of the name hero protagonist and the way he plugs into cyberspace. Uh, I guess pizza delivery guy. I kind of missed it, but I didn't miss this one. This is a full blown satire. This is a funny book. It's a fun book, and the lead guy, he keeps his humanity where a huge percentage of people have uploaded to a data cloud that surrounds the Earth, and just live it up in their virtual utopia. But he hasn't given up his humanity yet. This deals with some family issues, a long lost father, his mother. Just a wonderful book. It's a quick read, despite how many pages is this there? It's over 300 pages, but you can get through it pretty quickly. It runs really smooth. Just a great book by one Cory Doctorow. We got Glow by Tim Jordan. This is another fast-paced book. Glow refers to a nanotech virus that can infect people. It's more like a disease per se. And the problem is that when you get infected with it, it may have had previous hosts, and you're going to bring those memories of those previous hosts with you. And in the case of like the lead guy, you can actually start wondering who you really are and who you really were. And it's quite the revelation when he eventually finds out. The other big part of this is this assassin machine. He is dropped from orbit to go do his job. He's a powerful robot, and he has actually a character arc of his own from one understanding of his purpose to another. It does have a sequel, cleverly called Afterglow. Two great books right there. Cyberpunk. Most everyone's heard of Ghost in the Shell. Here is its manga. However you feel about it, I saw the animated feature film long ago, and it is better than the manga. People like Akira better, the animated feature. I did not. Ghost in the Shell, as far as I'm concerned, is the best animated cyberpunk thing that there is. This is just not so much connected story. It's just a lot of one episode after another, episodic really. It has a sequel called Human Machine Interface by the same author. I don't know what to think of it. It's really good, but for some reason the author went on I'm not going to show you too long, dwell on it. A lot of upskirt panty fetish in this. I don't know. There's nothing like that in this, and for some reason he went ultra sexual in this, and I don't know what the big difference was or why he went for it, but still. Real quick, Trouble and Her Friends by Melissa Scott. This is more like a shootout in the Old West. I am retired, but someone's ruining my reputation, and I'm going to do something about it. And that's what this is about. This is a more basic story, not particularly technical. I say that because the next book is, and but still fun, good read. Really good writer. This is probably the most unknown thing sitting here. Looking Glass by James R. Strickland. The lead character here, she is paralyzed, I believe, from the waist down, as I recall. And she spends a lot of time plugged into cyberspace in a pod that she can float in, gives her nutrients and whatnot like that. This is one of the more human-like arcs, emotional arcs that she has. She falls in love. There's betrayal. This is a much more technical book, but it's a fun technical book. I enjoyed reading that one right there. So, these are, again, you look at Neuromancer and Snow Crash as the cyberpunk books. These qualify too. Let's get a little close up here. When Gravity Fails by George Alec Effinger. A Fire in the Sun. The Exile Kiss. Again, society falling apart around the world. Our lead guy married Audrin Merid. When these start out, he's by himself, kind of a private detective, sort of mercenary type person, and a serial killer gets loose, and he is a particularly violent one. And it gets so bad that the local crime lord, is a very memorable kingpin of crime, one Friedlander Bay, takes him and makes him get upgraded. He resists that. He is all human when this story starts. These take place in the Middle East. These are all Middle Eastern characters, a lot of Middle Eastern language. It is a conservative city that it takes place in, but there is a area called the Bootying, which is sort of allowed to exist as, if you need to go do some crime, you're going to do it there. So he resists this. He does not want to get upgraded. There is no cyberspace in these books. Instead, what you have are modifications where you do get the clunky implants. You'll have these little plugs in the back of your head, and you get what are called moddies. So you plug in and you can speak French. You plug in and you're a mathematician. You plug another one in and you're a badass. You plug one in and you can act like Marilyn Monroe. A variety of skills and personalities can be plugged into your mind. Merid here gets like double the amount of plugins against his will. And this, like Looking Glass, there's a much more human story here. This is very introspective from the main character's viewpoint. He has to go on an emotional roller coaster ride. He has to kind of give up his, I don't know about arrogance, but he does get humbled, and he has to adapt and deal with it over these 3 books and his dealings with the crime lord who runs everything. These are just outstanding books. I think there was actually supposed to be a 4th book, but the author did pass away and it never did come to fruition. To go along with that, I can't remember where I got this. This is a role-playing game supplement that's all about that world when gravity fails. So you get a timeline of events, you get character summaries, you get a map of the world, you get geography, you get a map of the city, you get a map of the Bootying. This is just a nice summary piece of the world. And I got this years later, and it was fun to kind of dive back in and see it done as a role-playing game supplement. I don't know what the role-playing game rules are. It has them listed, but I don't think you need the rules to understand and read this book. And on that happy little note. If you've never heard of it, GURPS up here in the corner, Generic Universal Role-Playing System. And they have a lot of world books from ancient Rome to the supernatural to cliffhangers, just a huge variety of role-playing worlds you can play in. And they came up with a cyberpunk supplement. Now, what's interesting about the history of this book is that it got seized by the Secret Service. I'm going to read you this whole thing. It's right here in the beginning. This actually happened. Meanwhile, back in the real world, the staff at Steve Jackson Games would like to offer our somewhat bemused thanks to the United States Secret Service for their diligent reality checking of GURPS Cyberpunk. It happened like this. On March 1st, this is in the 80s, the SJ Games office and the home of the GURPS Cyberpunk writer were raided by the U.S. Secret Service as part of a nationwide investigation of data piracy. A large amount of equipment was seized, including 3 computers, 2 laser printers, a great deal of assorted hardware. The only computers taken were those with the GURPS Cyberpunk files. Other systems were left in place. In their diligent search for evidence, the agents also cut off locks, forced open footlockers, tore open dozens of boxes in the warehouse, and bent 2 of our letter openers in an attempt to pick the lock on a file cabinet. The next day, accompanied by an attorney, I personally visited the Austin offices of the Secret Service. We had been promised that we would make copies of our files. As it turned out, we were only allowed to copy a few files and only from one of the 3 systems. Still missing were all the current text files and hard copy of this book, as well as extensive playtest comments from the bulletin board. In the course of the visit, it became clear that the investigating agents considered GURPS Cyberpunk to be a handbook for computer crime. They seemed to make no distinction between a discussion of futuristic credit fraud using equipment that doesn't exist, a modern real-life credit card abuse. A repeated comment by the agents was, "This is real." Now, I'll freely admit that this book is the most realistic cyberpunk game yet released. It has a lot of background information, but it won't make you into a console cowboy in one easy lesson any more than GURPS Fantasy will teach you swordplay. Sadly, the distinction appeared lost on the investigators. Over the next few weeks, the Secret Service repeatedly assured our attorney that complete copies of our files would be returned tomorrow. On March 26, almost 4 weeks after the raid, some but not all of the files were returned. As of now, we have no idea when or if we will get the rest of our files, our BBS software, and our computers and printers. Why were we raided? We're still not sure. My best guess is that the author of this book wound up on a federal list of dangerous hoodlums. While reality checking the book, he corresponded with a variety of people, from computer security experts to self-confessed hackers. He knew a lot about computers and the computer underground. Now, it seems that anybody with the computer knowledge at all is suspect, especially if they own a modem, and sharing that information makes you doubly dangerous regardless of the First Amendment. Maybe the cyberpunk future is closer and darker than we think. Steve Jackson, who created GURPS. Wonderful. This is just a fun supplement. It summarizes the cyberpunk world and gives some game-specific stuff in it. This will almost be a great intro by itself if you don't know a lot about cyberpunk and want to have a little information before you dive into any book. My personal little future here, I got a whole bunch of stuff sitting still in my TBR. The Shift by, who's this, by George Foy. It's a world of virtual reality. A little imagination can be murder. Technogenesis by Sine Mitchell. What's this say? In the near future, all human interaction takes place on the net. Nerve induction jewelry keeps people connected 24/7. The net provides access to global information, entertainment, and instant communication. Loneliness is a thing of the past, and so is privacy. Okay, so we got this. I got because it's Cyberpunk 2077. No coincidence. A novel by Rafat Kosik. This is a video game, so you have a novel based off the video game. The video game is a big deal. I seem to recall it had a lot of bugs upon release, but the joke was people had too much fun with it to care. So here is a novel based from that game. Don't know too much about this. I was looking for cyberpunk and transhumanist type fiction, and by D.L. Young up came Cyberpunk City the Machine Killer. This one might be more transhumanism than cyberpunk. Divas, the Absolute Series by Stuart J. Tanner. 300 years after a global nuclear war ended all life on Earth, the remnants of humanity have established a federation of 68 worlds. So this looks like it's getting out in the galaxy. Let's see here. Afterworld by Debbie Urbanski. What is going on here? Faced with uncontrolled and accelerating environmental collapse, humanity asks an artificial intelligence to find a solution. Its answer is simple: remove humans from the ecosystem. All right. And then the big book of cyberpunk. This is just a 1,000-page collection of short stories. I mentioned Dogfight in the book called Simulations. That's one of the ones in here. So there's probably a lot of old, original short stories. It looks like, if I'm remembering, a lot of these new, or a lot of these old titles. There may be some new stuff in here. Chapters include society, culture, challenge, a post-cyberpunk section. So we shall see, and that right there is everything I wanted to show you that I thought was worth your time in Cyberpunk. I'll only put these glasses back on, huh? Like my glasses hide my wrinkly eyes, so we're going to put those right back on there. I don't know that I am still kind of in a fantasy mood. I'm currently reading a fantasy book, and I have others that I want to read. You get a little bug talking about Cyberpunk. I almost want to grab something and just start going after that instead, so we'll see. That's what I wanted to do today. Don't see a lot of people talking about Cyberpunk too much, and there's probably some new things you never heard of before in this stack, which is why I grabbed them. So thank you very much for listening once again. Channel's doing okay. Got a few hundred views. Kind of nice. A lot of fun doing this, and I'm just going to keep on doing it regardless. So thank you very much. Please like and subscribe. Have a lovely day.